state of California is known for having one of the highest advanced educational systems in the known world today. UCLA is ranked 13th internationally, and UC Berkeley is ranked 2nd. So what does that say about UC Santa Cruz? Where do we stand on the international rankings? Well, as a matter of fact, not so good. UC Santa Cruz doesn't even make the top 100. So the question is, why? Well, one of the reasons being that we are a young university, a research-intensive university, but also it could be because of the recent budget crisis. I'm Crosby with the story.
Right now, California higher education, including the university, the CSUs, the community colleges, are a great system of higher education. It has worked tremendously. If you go to any other country in the world, I mean, it just uses as an example, you go to any other, or almost any other country in the world, and you ask them, would they like to trade their government for California's government? How many would say yes? The answer is almost none of them would say yes. But if you ask them, would they trade their higher education system for California's higher education system, virtually every country in the world would say yes. So they'd be delighted to have a system like we have in California.
These are the thoughts of our UC Chancellor. While he admits our government isn't exactly stable, he still trusts the quality of the education system. But what happens when the California legislation issues a $500 million cut to the University of California system? Will this not impede upon the ability of the university to sustain the ability to have a prestigious educational reputation? The Chancellor simply puts it as budget Armageddon. That's right, we're no longer dealing with economically oriented policies and tax proposals. We're dealing with World War III budget crisis. And there is the possibility of another $150 million being taken away from the UC system next year.
I've asked the same question of many legislators, and so my assessment is it's not likely to go that badly, but if it does.
That was part of my question.
I don't think it's that likely, but that doesn't mean it can't happen.
Right.
And it also means that we should be really concerned about it, because I do think it is, I'm using Armageddon as shorthand for a serious challenge to the university. If it does happen, I really believe that, as I said before, I don't think that the campus can just take those cuts and then go on happily doing its business.
So, the question is, what does this mean for you?
It's the middle class that's really going to be adversely affected by, by any fee increases that happen. And so that's where the issue is.
Middle-class America will indeed suffer the greatest, and anyone who makes over $80,000 won't be getting financial securities from UC. So, let's break it down. For incoming freshmen, there's two options: increased California resident tuition versus non-resident financially devastating tuition. Either case, the projected 4-year plan is as follows. Year 1 through 4, for instance, tuition racks up to be approximately $144,000, whereas year 1 through 4 for out-of-state tuition racks up to be close to $250,000. We asked students how they plan to cope with the rising prices, and surprisingly, no one was overly concerned about the price change. Everyone just wants to get their degree as quickly as possible so as to avoid a sizable debt.
I think the thing we're also seeing with students is many more students are trying to get out on the 4 or even 3-year plan. And that means that the availability of classes becomes critical. And so we're having to plan for that as part of our strategy.
The recent budget crisis is not only due to the financial cuts from the government of California, but due to the actual spending of student tuition here at UCSC. Respected members of the community agreed that we are cutting and allocating funds in seriously troubling ways.
Do I think UC isn't doing the right thing by parceling out these cuts to the campuses? No, I think that is the appropriate response. I mean, there's already going to be an 8% fee increase for students in the fall. There isn't enough, UCOP, the Office of the President doesn't have enough money to take $500 million of cuts. They had no choice but to push them out to the campuses. And since we're not yelling Armageddon on the first $500 million, that almost proves that they were right to do that. I don't think that was an unreasonable response.
So, for the future of UCSC and the undergraduate population, the situation is somewhat dire. Although we will continue to watch this budget crisis, we can see that it is slowly evolving into an epidemic or Armageddon. For Banana Slug News, I'm Pierce Crosby.